The red star called Kepler 442 burned quietly in the darkness of space. Most beings in the galaxy thought this star was useless. Its planets were too cold, too rocky, and too far from the busy trade routes that connected the great alien empires. For 300 years, no one had bothered to look closely at this forgotten corner of space. But they were wrong. Deep beneath the rocky surface of the second planet, millions of humans lived and worked in vast underground cities. Above ground, huge machines slowly changed the air and water, making the world more like Earth. Green plants now grew where once there had been only dust and stone. Rivers flowed where ancient impact craters used to be. The humans called their new world Haven, and it had become exactly that. Elena Rodriguez stood at the observation deck of New Geneva, the largest city on Haven. Through the clear dome above, her head she could see the artificial aurora that danced across the night sky. The lights were not just beautiful. They were part of the planet's new magnetic field, created by human technology to protect their world from dangerous radiation. Elena was the great-great-granddaughter of Dr. Elena Vasquez, one of the original colonists who had arrived on the ship called New Horizon. That was 3 centuries ago, when Earth was dying and humans were fighting endless wars. The 50,000 people on that ship had been looking for a new start, far away from the problems of their old world. "The morning shift is ready to begin terraforming Sector 12, said Marcus, Elena's assistant. He was young, only 25, but like all Haven-born humans, he had grown up learning advanced science and engineering. On Haven, every person needed to understand how their technology worked because their survival depended on it. Elena nodded and walked to the control center. Holographic displays showed her the status of terraforming operations across the planet. Massive atmospheric processors were slowly adding oxygen to the air. Underground reactors provided clean energy to power cities that housed over 200 million people. Orbital shipyards built vessels that used technology the galaxy had never seen. The humans of Haven had not been sitting idle during their 3 centuries of isolation. While the great alien empires grew fat and lazy with their old technology, humanity had been forced to innovate or die. They had created materials stronger than anything known to galactic science. Their computers could think faster than the best alien artificial minds. Their ships could travel through space in ways that seemed impossible. But perhaps most importantly, they had learned to work together. The old Earth had been divided by nations, religions, and ideologies. Haven was united by a simple goal: survival and prosperity for all humans. Admiral Sarah Chen Okafor walked through the corridors of Orbital Station Alpha, the largest space platform in the Kepler 442 system. The station looked like a massive ring around Haven, but appearances were deceiving. Hidden within its structure were weapon systems that could defend against entire fleets. The station also served as a shipyard, research facility, and early warning system. Sarah was the descendant of Admiral Marcus Chen, one of the original military leaders who had guided the colony ship to safety. The Chen family had served Haven's defense forces for generations, always preparing for the day when their isolation might end. "Admiral, we're detecting something unusual," reported Lieutenant Commander Jackson from the sensor station. The young officer's voice was calm, but Sarah could hear the tension underneath. "Long-range sensors show a large fleet approaching from the direction of Zephyrian space." Sarah felt her heart rate increase, but her expression remained steady. This was the moment they had all been trained for. "How large is the fleet, and how long until they arrive?" 12 ships, all heavy cruiser class or larger. They'll reach the outer system in approximately 18 hours at their current speed. The Admiral looked at the tactical display that showed the approaching ships. The Zephyrian Empire was one of the most aggressive powers in the galaxy. They expanded by claiming empty systems and forcing out anyone who was already there. According to galactic law, they had the right to do this if a system was not officially claimed by a recognized government. Of course, the Galactic Council had never recognized Haven's government because they had never known it existed. "Send a message to Chancellor Santos," Sarah ordered. "Tell her we have visitors coming and they probably don't know we're here." Chancellor Maria Santos had been elected leader of Haven just 2 years earlier. She was young for such a position, only 43, but she had the intelligence and strength that the colony needed. Her office was located in the government district of New Geneva, in a building that looked modest from the outside but contained some of the most advanced technology in the galaxy. When Admiral Chen Okafor's message arrived, Maria was in a meeting with the heads of Haven's various departments. Dr. Kim Walsh led the science division that had developed their advanced technology. General Robert Hayes commanded the planetary defense forces. Economic Director Lisa Park managed trade between Haven's many cities and orbital stations. "So it's finally happening," Maria said after reading the Admiral's report. 300 years of hiding, and now we have to decide what kind of neighbors we want to be." Dr. Walsh leaned forward in her chair. "Our technology is far ahead of, anything the Zephyrians have. We could easily defend ourselves if they try to attack us. The question is whether we want to reveal ourselves at all," General Hayes added. "We could hide our cities and let them think the system is empty. They might just survey the planets and leave." Maria stood up and walked to the window that showed the bustling city outside. Humans of all ages moved through the streets, going about their daily lives in peace and prosperity. Children played in parks filled with earth plants that had been carefully adapted to Haven's environment. Adults worked in laboratories and factories that produced wonders the galaxy had never imagined. "We've spent 3 centuries building something amazing here," she said. "But we always knew this day would come. We can't hide forever, and I don't think we should. The galaxy sees humans as weak and primitive. Maybe it's time to show them what we've really accomplished." The Chancellor turned back to her advisors. "Prepare our ships and defense systems, but don't hide them. If the Zephyrians want to claim our home, let them see exactly what they're dealing with. And send a message to all departments. It's time to implement First Contact Protocol." As news of the approaching fleet spread through Haven cities, people remained calm. They had been preparing for this moment their entire lives. In schools, children learned about the galaxy beyond their system and the challenges they might face. In factories, workers checked the production of defensive systems. In orbital shipyards, engineers made final preparations on vessels that would shock anyone who saw them. The humans of Haven were no longer the desperate refugees who had fled Earth 3 centuries ago. They were a civilization that had turned a dead world into a paradise. They had technology that seemed like magic. Most importantly, they had something that the great alien empires had forgotten: the determination to fight for their home and the unity to stand together against any threat. The red star Kepler 442 continued to burn quietly in space, but its secret was about to be revealed. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity had not been sitting quietly in their small corner of space. They had been growing stronger, smarter, and more dangerous with each passing year. The Zephyrian fleet was approaching, expecting to find empty worlds ready for conquest. Instead, they were about to encounter a force that would change everything they thought they knew about humans and their place in the galaxy. Captain Veltar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Imperial survey ship Dominant Will. The massive vessel was over 2 kilometers long and carried enough firepower to destroy entire cities. Behind him, 11 other Zephyrian warships moved through space in perfect formation. This was supposed to be a simple operation: survey the empty Kepler 442 system, claim it for the Empire, and begin preparations for colonization. The Zephyrians were a proud warrior race that had built their empire by conquering weaker species. They were tall, with tough gray skin and 4 arms that ended in sharp claws. Their eyes could see heat signatures, and their minds were naturally good at tactical thinking. They had been expanding their territory for over 1,000 years, and no one had ever successfully resisted them. "Captain, we're approaching the target system," reported his sensor officer, Lieutenant Sekhan. Initial scans show... Wait, that's... Impossible. Veltar moved to the sensor station, his claws clicking on the metal floor. What are you seeing, Lieutenant? Sir, I'm detecting massive energy signatures throughout the system. There are artificial structures around the second planet, and the planet itself shows signs of terraforming. But according to our records, this system is uninhabited. The captain's 4 eyes narrowed as he studied the sensor readings. The data showed cities, orbital stations, and ships that definitely belonged to some kind of advanced civilization. This was not supposed to be here. Could it be a lost colony from one of the major powers? He asked his intelligence officer. No, sir. The technology signatures don't match anything in our databases. The power sources are completely unknown, and the ship designs are unlike anything we've seen before. Veltar felt the first touch of unease. In his 30 years of military service, he had never encountered a situation like this. Unknown civilizations were extremely rare in the explored galaxy. Most species had been contacted centuries ago and were members of the Galactic Council. Send a standard hail, he ordered. Let's find out who these people are. The communication came through clearly, and the face that appeared on the main screen made Veltar's mandibles click in shock. The being looking back at him was clearly human. The same species that barely rated council membership and was known throughout the galaxy for being primitive and weak. But this human looked different from the ones Veltar had seen in diplomatic meetings. She was calm and confident, with intelligent eyes that seemed to see right through him. Her uniform was made of materials that seemed to shift and shimmer in the light. I am Chancellor Maria Santos of the Haven Republic, the human woman said in perfect galactic standard. You are in violation of our territorial space. Please state your intentions. Veltar recovered from his surprise and allowed himself to show his amusement. This had to be some kind of joke. Humans were barely capable of spaceflight, and they certainly didn't have colonies outside their home system. Human, you have no authority here, he said, letting his claws extend to show his weapon readiness. The Zephyrian Empire claims this. System under Galactic Council Resolution 2847. You will evacuate immediately or be removed by force. The human's expression didn't change at all. She looked at him as if he were a child making unreasonable demands. Captain, she said calmly, I'll give you 1 hour to leave our system. This is your only warning. Veltar was so amazed by the human's boldness that he actually laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through his bridge. His crew members also showed their amusement in various ways. The idea that a single human colony could threaten a Zephyrian battle fleet was beyond ridiculous. Close the channel, he ordered. Prepare to move toward the second planet. We'll show these humans what happens when they try to interfere with the Empire. As his fleet began moving deeper into the system, Veltar felt completely confident. His 12 ships carried enough firepower to level continents. His soldiers were the best-trained warriors in the galaxy. These confused humans would surrender quickly once they saw what they were facing. But as the fleet approached Haven, strange things began to happen. The Zephyrian sensors started detecting energy signatures that made no sense. The space around the planet seemed to be filled with objects that appeared and disappeared like ghosts. Most disturbing of all, every attempt to scan the human ships resulted in complete system failures. Captain, our targeting systems are malfunctioning, reported Weapons Officer Colvex. Every time we try to lock onto one of their vessels, our computers crash and restart. That's impossible, Veltar snarled. Our systems are protected by the best security in the galaxy. Sir, you need to see this, called the sensor officer. On the main screen, the space around Haven suddenly lit up with thousands of energy signatures. Orbital stations that had seemed small and harmless revealed themselves to be massive defense platforms. Ships that had looked like simple cargo vessels transformed into sleek warships that moved faster than anything in the Zephyrian fleet. But most shocking of all, the planet itself began to glow. Energy fields that had been invisible suddenly became bright enough to see with the naked eye. The entire world was surrounded by a web of defensive systems that made the Empire's best fortifications look like children's toys. "How many ships do they have?" Veltar demanded. Lieutenant Sek Han's voice was shaking as he replied, "I'm counting over 300 vessels, sir, and they're all moving into attack formation." The captain felt his confidence begin to crack. 300 ships was more than most entire fleets, but that was still not enough to worry him. Quality was more important than quantity, and Zephyrian ships were the most advanced in the galaxy. "All ships, prepare for battle," he commanded. "Target their largest vessels and fire on my order." But when he gave the order to attack, nothing happened. His weapons officer pressed the firing controls again and again, but the ship's massive energy cannons remained silent. "Sir, all weapons systems are offline," Kolvex reported, panic creeping into his voice. "The computers show that everything is working perfectly, but nothing will fire." Across the bridge, other officers were reporting similar problems. Navigation was failing, communications were being blocked, even the life support systems were starting to behave strangely. "Captain," came a new voice over the communication system. It was the human chancellor again, but now her image was appearing on every screen throughout the ship. "I think you're beginning to understand your situation. Your weapons won't work because we won't let them. Your ships can't escape because we're controlling your engines, and your crews are getting very nervous because they can see what's happening around them." Veltar looked at his main view screen and felt his heart stop beating. The human ships were not just surrounding his fleet, they were playing with it. Vessels that moved like living things danced between his massive warships, coming close enough to touch their hulls before spinning away. It was like watching children play around sleeping giants. "Your technology is impressive," the human continued. "But you're fighting with tools that we helped invent 3 centuries ago. Everything you use, we understand. Everything you try, we can counter. And right now, we're recording this entire encounter and broadcasting it to the Galactic Communication Network." The captain's worst fears were confirmed when his communication officer reported that their entire humiliation was being transmitted across the galaxy. Every government, every military, every citizen with access to the galactic net was watching the mighty Zephyrian Empire being completely helpless against a human colony. "What do you want?" Veltar finally asked, his pride broken. "I want you to deliver a message," Chancellor Santos replied. "Tell the galaxy that the Haven Republic claims the Kepler 442 system under the ancient right of inhabitation. We've been here for 3 centuries. This is our home, and we will defend it against anyone who tries to take it from us." The human ships began to move away from the Zephyrian fleet, but Veltar could feel that they were still being watched and controlled. "You have 24 hours to leave our system," the Chancellor said. "After that, we'll consider you hostile, invaders, and act accordingly. Captain, I suggest you use your time wisely. The galaxy is about to learn some very important lessons about humanity." The communication ended, leaving Veltar and his crew alone with their defeat. In less than an hour, everything they thought they knew about humans and their place in the galaxy had been proven completely wrong. Fleet Admiral Sarah Chen Okafor watched the Zephyrian fleet from the command center of Orbital Station Alpha. The alien ships hung motionless in space, their weapons systems completely disabled by Haven's cyber warfare programs. Around her, dozens of officers monitored the situation with calm efficiency. This was the moment they had trained for their entire lives. "Admiral, Captain Veltar is attempting to contact his home fleet," reported Lieutenant Commander Jackson from the communications station. "His messages are being blocked by our signal jammers, but he's getting increasingly desperate." Sarah nodded and turned to the tactical display that showed the positions of all ships in the system. The humans had revealed only a fraction of their true military strength, but it was already more than enough to handle the Zephyrian threat. 300 ships surrounded the alien fleet, while thousands more remained hidden throughout the system. "Any signs that they're trying to break free?" she asked. "No, ma'am. Their engines are still under our control. We're keeping them in a stable orbit around Haven while we decide what to do with them." The Admiral allowed herself a small smile. The Zephyrians had expected to find a primitive human colony that would surrender without a fight. Instead, they had discovered a military force that could disable their entire fleet without firing a single shot. Dr. Kim Walsh entered the command center carrying a datapad filled with sensor readings from the alien ships. As Haven's chief science officer, she had been studying Zephyrian technology for years, preparing for exactly this situation. "Sarah, their ships are exactly what we expected," she reported. "The Empire has been using the same basic designs for over 2 centuries. Their weapons are powerful but predictable. Their defenses are strong but inflexible. They've become so confident in their superiority that they stopped innovating." "And our cyber attack?" Sarah asked. "Complete success. Their computer systems are based on principles that humans developed and abandoned 50 years ago. We know every weakness, every backdoor, every vulnerability. We could take control of their entire fleet permanently if we wanted to." Sarah considered this information carefully. Haven's leaders had agreed that their first contact with the galaxy should send a clear message. Humanity was not weak, and they would not be pushed around. But they also didn't want to start a war that might bring the entire galaxy down on them. "Open a channel to Chancellor Santos," she ordered. The Chancellor's face appeared on the main screen, transmitted from her office in New Geneva. Behind her, Sarah could see the bustling activity of Haven's government as they dealt with the crisis. "Maria, we have the situation under control up here," Sarah reported. "The Zephyrian fleet is completely neutralized. No casualties on either side." "Good. How are they handling the reality of their situation?" "About as well as you'd expect. Their captain is angry, confused, and probably filing reports that his superiors won't believe. But I think he's starting to understand that this isn't some kind of trick." Chancellor Santos considered this for a moment. "Admiral, I want you to give them a demonstration. Show them exactly what our ships can do. But make sure the galaxy is watching." Sarah understood immediately. This wasn't just about defeating the Zephyrian fleet. It was about showing every government in the galaxy that humanity had become a force that demanded respect. "Understood, Madam Chancellor. We'll make sure they get the message." The Admiral turned to her tactical officer. "Commander Hayes, select 12 of our newest corvettes for a demonstration flight. I want them to show off everything these ships can do without revealing our most advanced capabilities." "Yes, ma'am. Which flight group should I assign?" "Give it to Lightning Squadron. They've been waiting for a chance to show off." Within minutes, 12 human ships detached themselves from the main fleet and began moving toward the disabled Zephyrian vessels. To the aliens watching, these ships looked impossible. They were smaller than traditional warships, but moved with a grace and speed that defied physics. Their hulls seemed to shift and change color as they flew, making them nearly invisible against the background of space. Captain Veltar watched from his bridge as the human ships approached. He had been a military officer for 30 years and had seen the best ships that every major power could build. But these vessels were unlike anything in his experience. "How fast are they moving?" he asked his sensor officer. "Sir, our instruments show speeds that should be impossible for ships that size. They're accelerating at rates that would turn any crew into paste, but somehow they're maintaining perfect formation." As the human ships drew closer, they began to demonstrate their capabilities. They flew in complex patterns that no other species could achieve, coming within meters of each other while traveling at incredible speeds. They moved up and down, backwards and forwards, even spinning in place while maintaining their velocity. But the real shock came when one of the human ships simply vanished. One moment it was there, clearly visible on all sensors, and the next moment it was gone as if it had never existed. "Where did it go?" Veltar demanded. "I don't know, sir. It just disappeared. No energy signature, no warp field, nothing." The missing ship reappeared seconds later, but now it was inside the Zephyrian formation, flying calmly between 2 of their massive cruisers. The human vessel was so close that its crew could have reached out and touched the alien hulls, but somehow it had appeared there without triggering any alarms or defensive systems. "Sir, the weapons officer reported with fear in his voice. "That ship is now directly adjacent to our main reactor. If it wanted to, it could destroy us with a single shot." But the human ship didn't attack. Instead, it transmitted a simple message. "Hello, Captain Veltar. We thought you might like to see what our scouts can do." The ship vanished again and reappeared back with its squadron, leaving the Zephyrian crew wondering if they had imagined the whole thing. More demonstrations followed. Human ships showed that they could become invisible, move faster than anything else in space, and appear anywhere they wanted without warning. They displayed weapons that could cut through the strongest armor like paper and shields that could absorb any amount of energy. Most impressive of all, they showed perfect coordination. The 12 ships moved as if they were controlled by a single mind, executing maneuvers that required split-second timing and absolute trust between crews. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the human admiral," his communication officer reported. Admiral Chen Okafor's face appeared on the screen, and Veltar could see the confidence in her eyes. This was a military leader who knew exactly how powerful her forces were. "Captain Veltar, I hope you've enjoyed our little demonstration. What you've seen today represents a tiny fraction of Haven's defensive capabilities. We have ships that are faster, weapons that are more powerful, and defenses that are stronger than anything you've witnessed." She paused to let this information sink in before continuing. "But we're not interested in conquest. We want to live in peace and develop our civilization without interference. However, we will defend ourselves against anyone who threatens our home or our people." The Admiral's expression became more serious. "I'm going to release control of your ships now. You're free to leave our system and return to your empire. When you make your report, please be sure to include everything you've seen here today. The galaxy needs to understand that humanity is no longer weak or defensible." Veltar felt his ship's systems coming back online as the humans ended their cyber attack. His engines responded to commands, his weapons were functional again, and his communication systems could reach beyond the local area. "Captain," his tactical officer reported, "all systems are back to normal. We have full control of our ship." But Veltar knew that the humans could take control again whenever they wanted. They had demonstrated technology that made his fleet look like ancient relics. Most disturbing of all, they had done it without showing any anger or cruelty. They were powerful enough to destroy his entire fleet, but they had chosen to simply disable it and make their point. "Set course for home," he ordered quietly, "and prepare a full report for Imperial Command. They need to know what we've found out here." As the Zephyrian fleet began to leave the system, Admiral Chen Okafor turned to her staff with satisfaction. The first test was complete, and humanity had passed with flying colors. "Admiral, we're receiving communications from all over the galaxy," Lieutenant Commander Jackson reported. "It seems like everyone saw our demonstration." "Good. Let them think about what they've learned, and prepare our deep space monitoring systems. Something tells me we're going to have a lot more visitors very soon." The emergency session of the Galactic Council began in chaos. Representatives from 50 different species crowded into the Great Assembly Hall on Thessia Prime, all talking at once about the shocking news from the Kepler 442 system. The footage of humanity's complete domination of a Zephyrian battle fleet had spread across the galaxy faster than any government could control it. Council Leader Morden of the Altarian Federation called for order, his blue-scaled hands raised high above his head. The Altarians were known for their diplomatic skills and their ability to remain calm in any crisis, but even Morden looked shaken by recent events. "Fellow representatives," he began, his voice carrying clearly through the hall's advanced sound system. "We are here to discuss what may be the most significant development in galactic politics for over 1,000 years. The species we have known as primitive humans has revealed military capabilities that exceed our most optimistic estimates." Ambassador Keth Ara of the Zephyrian Empire stood to address the council. Her gray skin was darker than usual, a sign of deep anger among her people. The four-armed warrior looked like she wanted to challenge someone to personal combat. The Empire's fleet was not defeated, she declared loudly. It was humiliated. Our ships were disabled without a single shot being fired. Our weapons were turned off like children's toys, and the entire encounter was broadcast to the galaxy as if we were actors in some entertainment program. Murmurs of concern rippled through the assembly. The Zephyrian Empire was one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy. If they could be defeated so easily, what did that mean for everyone else? Dr. Vexnall of the Corvani Scientific Union requested permission to speak. The Corvani were a species of brilliant researchers who had developed much of the technology used throughout the galaxy. Honorable representatives, I have analyzed the sensor data from the Zephyrian encounter. The technology displayed by these humans is not just advanced, it represents fundamental breakthroughs in physics that we thought were impossible. The scientist activated a holographic display that showed images captured from the human ships. Their vessels appear to manipulate gravity in ways that our best theories say cannot be done. They demonstrate faster-than-light travel without using traditional warp fields. Most disturbing of all, they show complete mastery over computer systems that should be impossible to hack. Ambassador Telron of the Harmony Collective raised a tentacle to speak. The collective was known for their peaceful nature and their advanced understanding of technology. Dr. Vexnall, are you suggesting that human technology is superior to our own? I'm suggesting that it's completely different from our own, the scientist replied. For centuries, the galaxy has developed technology along predictable paths. We've improved existing designs and made them more efficient. But the humans appear to have started from completely different basic principles. The implications of this statement sent shockwaves through the assembly. Every major corporation, every military force, every government in the galaxy based their power on technology that might now be obsolete. Economic Representative Zur Tan of the Trade Federation stood up urgently. If human technology is truly superior, what does this mean for galactic commerce? Our entire economy is based on the trade of advanced systems and components. It means, said Ambassador Kethera grimly, that every military in the galaxy may need to be completely rebuilt. Our weapons, our ships, our defenses. Everything may be useless against enemies with human-level technology. Council Leader Mordun tried to maintain order as arguments broke out across the assembly hall. Some representatives demanded immediate military action against the human colony. Others suggested diplomatic approaches. A few even proposed offering alliance terms to gain access to human technology. In the middle of this chaos, a new transmission arrived from the Kepler 442 system. Chancellor Santos appeared on the main display, speaking from her office on Haven. The human leader looked calm and confident, completely unworried by the storm of controversy she had created. Honorable representatives of the Galactic Council, she began. I understand that recent events have caused concern throughout the galaxy. I want to address these concerns directly. The assembly hall fell silent as every being present focused on the human chancellor's words. The Haven Republic has existed peacefully in the Kepler 442 system for 300 years. We have never attacked anyone, never threatened anyone, and never interfered with galactic politics. We simply wanted to live our own lives and develop our own civilization. She paused before continuing. However, when a military fleet enters our space with the intention of forcing us from our homes, we will defend ourselves. We have that right under every law and treaty that governs civilized behavior. Ambassador Cathara interrupted the transmission. Human, your colony was never registered with the Galactic Council. According to our laws, unregistered settlements have no legal standing. Chancellor Santos's expression didn't change. Ambassador, we were never asked to register. Your council never contacted us, never offered us membership, and never even acknowledged our existence. We have been here for 3 centuries, building our civilization and harming no one. I believe that gives us certain rights. The human leader's tone became more serious. But let me be very clear about our position. The Haven Republic formally claims sovereignty over the Kepler 442 system under the ancient right of inhabitation. We have transformed dead worlds into living ones. We have built cities where there was only emptiness. This is our home, and we will defend it. Economic Representative Zurtan asked the question that everyone was thinking. What do you want from the galaxy, Chancellor Santos? We want recognition as a sovereign power with the right to exist in peace. We want trade relationships with species that are willing to treat us as equals. And we want to contribute to galactic civilization in positive ways. The Chancellor smiled slightly before delivering her final statement. But we also want it understood that the days of treating humanity as a minor, primitive species are over. We are not asking for these things. We are informing you of our intentions. Any government that wishes to test our resolve is welcome to try. The transmission ended, leaving the Galactic Council in stunned silence. Over the following days, the political situation became increasingly chaotic. Stock markets crashed as investors realized that their technology companies might be worthless. Military commanders quietly began updating their threat assessments, moving human space from minimal concern to maximum threat level. The Zephyrian Empire faced internal rebellions as news of their defeat spread through their territory. Conquered species began asking why they should remain under imperial rule when the Empire couldn't even defeat a single human colony. The Corvani Scientific Union offered massive research grants to any scientist who could explain how human technology worked. The Trade Federation sent secret diplomatic missions to negotiate access to human markets. Even the mysterious Voidwalker Collective, which rarely communicated with other species, sent a formal message expressing interest in meeting with human representatives. But perhaps the most significant reaction came from Earth itself. The human home world had been struggling with resource shortages and political problems for centuries. When news arrived that a lost human colony had become one of the most powerful forces in the galaxy, celebrations broke out in every major city. The Earth government immediately sent messages to Haven, asking for help with their problems and begging to re-establish contact with their long-lost cousins. Back on Haven, Chancellor Santos met with her advisors to plan their next moves. The galaxy was in chaos, and humanity was at the center of it all. The situation is developing faster than we expected, reported Admiral Chen Okafor. We're tracking over 200 ships from various governments heading toward our system. Some are diplomatic missions, but others appear to be military scout groups. Dr. Walsh looked up from her analysis reports. Maria, we've proven our point about defensive capabilities. But if we want to be taken seriously as a galactic power, we need to show that we can project force beyond our own system. Chancellor. Santos nodded thoughtfully. Admiral, how long would it take to prepare an expedition to visit some of our neighbors? I think it's time for humanity to introduce itself properly to the galaxy. 6 months after the confrontation with the Zephyrian fleet, the galaxy had been forced to accept a new reality. The Haven Republic was not just another human colony. It was a technological and military power that could stand equal to any civilization in known space. The first diplomatic missions to Haven had returned with reports that shattered every assumption about human capabilities. Trade delegations spoke of cities that seemed to grow from living crystal, where the buildings themselves responded to their inhabitants' needs. Military observers described defensive systems that made the galaxy's most advanced fortifications look like ancient ruins. But it was the technology exchanges that truly amazed the galactic powers. Human medical science could regrow entire organs and extend lifespans far beyond what most species thought possible. Their manufacturing processes could create materials with properties that seemed to violate the laws of physics. Most impressive, Of all, they had developed artificial intelligence systems that were truly intelligent, yet remained completely loyal to their human creators. Ambassador Feltar of the Altarian Federation stood in the observation lounge of Haven's primary spaceport, looking out at the impossible sight before him. The planet that his people's surveys had declared uninhabitable 3 centuries ago was now a garden world that supported over 200 million humans, green forests covered rolling hills where ancient impact craters used to be, clear rivers, flowed through valleys that had once been barren rock. The sky itself had been transformed, with an artificial magnetic field that created beautiful auroras every night. "It's hard to believe this is the same world our explorers surveyed," he said to Dr. Elena Rodriguez, his human guide. Elena smiled as she watched a group of children playing in a nearby park. These were Haven-born humans who had never known scarcity or conflict. They grew up learning advanced science as naturally as children on other worlds learn to walk. "My great-great-grandmother was one of the original terraforming engineers," Elena explained. "She used to say that any world could become paradise if you were willing to work hard enough and wait long enough. But the technology required," Ambassador Feltar began, "was developed right here, by humans who had no choice but to innovate or die. When you can't import what you need, you learn to create what you need." The ambassador was quiet for a moment, considering the implications of what he was seeing. The Altarian Federation prided itself on being the galaxy's most advanced civilization, but everything he had witnessed on Haven made his people's achievements seem small and limited. In the capital city of New Geneva, Chancellor Santos was meeting with representatives from 12 different governments. The conference room was filled with beings from across the galaxy, all trying to understand how to deal with humanity's sudden rise to power. "Chancellor," said Trade Minister Vokran of the Economic Alliance, "our corporations are very interested in establishing manufacturing partnerships with your people. We believe that human innovation combined with our distribution networks could benefit everyone." Santos nodded politely. "We're certainly interested in mutually beneficial relationships, but let me be clear, we won't be anyone's junior partner. Haven has spent 3 centuries developing its capabilities, and we won't give away the results of that work cheaply." Ambassador Keth Ara of the Zephyrian Empire shifted uncomfortably in her chair. The proud warrior species had been forced to completely change their approach to dealing with humanity. "Chancellor, the Empire wishes to discuss territorial boundaries. We understand that you claim the Kepler 442 system, but what about surrounding areas?" "We claim what we can defend and what we need for our security," Santos replied. "Right now, that includes this system and several uninhabited systems nearby. We have no interest in conquering anyone, but we also won't allow potential enemies to build bases on our doorstep." The meeting continued for hours, with each representative trying to understand humanity's intentions and capabilities. What they discovered was both reassuring and terrifying. The humans of Haven had no interest in galactic conquest or domination. They simply wanted to be left alone to develop their civilization in peace. But they also made it clear that they would defend themselves against any threat, and they had the power to do so effectively. Fleet Admiral Chen Okafor was conducting her own meetings with military representatives from across the galaxy. The questions were always the same. How many ships did humanity have? What were their weapons capable of? How had they developed such advanced technology? "Admiral," asked General Morkan of the Federation Defense Force, "our analysts estimate that you revealed less than 10% of your true military capabilities during the Zephyrian encounter. Is that assessment accurate?" Sarah smiled slightly. "General, we revealed exactly what we wanted to reveal. Nothing more, nothing less. But surely you can give us some indication of your actual strength? The galaxy needs to understand what it's dealing with. The galaxy needs to understand that humanity is not a threat to peaceful civilizations. We have no desire to conquer anyone or impose our will on other species. but we also have the power to protect ourselves and our allies from any aggressor. The Admiral's expression became more serious. What the galaxy should really understand is that humanity has been developing in isolation for 3 centuries. We've had time to solve problems that other civilizations haven't even recognized yet. Our technology isn't just advanced, it's fundamentally different from what you're used to. Meanwhile, on Earth, the human homeworld was experiencing its own transformation. The news that a lost human colony had become a galactic power had inspired a renaissance of human pride and determination. Dr. James Chen, a descendant of the original Admiral Chen, who had led the colony ship to safety, stood before the Earth Council with a proposal that would change everything. Honorable representatives, Haven has offered to share their terraforming technology with Earth. They can repair our damaged environment and give us the tools to expand to other worlds. But they want something in return. Council President Sarah Williams leaned forward. What do they want, Dr. Chen? They want Earth to become a true partner, not a junior member begging for help. They want us to contribute our own innovations and work together to spread human civilization throughout the galaxy. The proposal was controversial, but the alternative was clear. Earth could continue struggling with its problems alone, or it could join with Haven to become part of something greater. Back on Haven, Chancellor Santos stood in her office, looking out at the thriving city below. Admiral Chen Okafor had just delivered her daily security briefing, and the news was encouraging. Maria, we're tracking diplomatic missions from over 30 governments heading our way. The Corvani want to establish a joint research station. The Trade Federation is offering us membership with full voting rights. Even the Void Walkers have sent an ambassador. What about potential threats? Santos asked. The Zephyrian Empire is still dealing with internal rebellions, so they're not a concern right now. A few minor powers are making aggressive statements, but nothing we can't handle. Overall, I'd say the galaxy is adjusting to our presence better than we expected. Chancellor. Santos smiled as she watched human children playing in the parks below. These young people would grow up in a galaxy where humanity was respected as equals, where human colonies could be established openly, and where human innovation could help solve problems that had troubled the galaxy for centuries. Admiral, prepare. A message for transmission to all galactic governments. It's time to make our final position clear. Hours later, Chancellor Santos's message reached every corner of the galaxy. People of the galaxy, 6 months ago, the Haven Republic emerged from 3 centuries of isolation. We did not ask for your attention, but events forced us to reveal ourselves. Today, I want to make humanity's position absolutely clear. We are not conquerors. We are not seeking to dominate or control other species. We simply want to exist in peace and contribute to galactic civilization. But we are also not weak. We will defend ourselves and our allies against any threat. We have the technology and the determination to protect what we have built. To those who wish to be our friends, we offer partnership, trade, and mutual assistance. To those who wish to be our enemies, we offer fair warning of what you will face. The galaxy is large enough for all of us to prosper. Humanity is ready to take its place among the stars, not as supplicants, but as equals. The message marked the end of one era and the beginning of another. The galaxy had spent centuries believing it understood humanity's place in the cosmic order. The Haven Republic had proven them completely wrong, and this was only the beginning. Human colonies were already being planned for dozens of systems. Human technology was beginning to spread to allied civilizations. Human influence was growing with each passing day. The red star Kepler 442 continued to burn quietly in space, but it was no longer forgotten. It had become the center of a new power that would reshape the galaxy for generations to come.